Welcome to another episode of Pod Practice. We are excited to have New York's Sean Keegan join us today. We had a great conversation from a player who's competed at the highest level of the sports for over a decade now. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we all did. What up, Sean?
What's happening, fellas?
Okay.
Can I call you the Keeganator?
I think you'd be the first. That'd be a totally unique one. So you'd have that going for you.
Welcome back to Pod Practice, the show about Ultimate from a coach and player's perspective. With me, as always, are Alex Atkins and Quinn Feiner. Recently returned from Colombia, we welcome in a two-time club champion and reigning world champion, Sean Keegan. Keegs. Sean,
Keegs.
Welcome to the show. You normally call me while you're riding your bike in New York City, so I'm looking forward to being able to understand what you're saying on the pod without the sound of gale force winds and New York City traffic. How's everybody
thanks
doing?
for having me.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. That's a good intro. I like the sound of two titles. So I don't want you guys with one getting too high on yourselves over there.
Yeah, we just got the one, but one of yours is with Bravo.
That's true. That's true.
Guys, how are you doing? Quinn Kins?
Good. I'm good. I was watching some Keegan film earlier, so excited to talk about that. A little 2014 and a little 2018. Wow. Good stuff.
I'm also doing good. I gotta admit, I'm coming into this one raw. Like most of the ones, I've done a little more research. I'm coming in with just base knowledge of what I know about Sean into this, so I'm excited. I think I'll have a more open mind. I don't have an agenda in this one.
Yeah, so
it'll be interesting to hear what the kind of the general thoughts that people have, the high level overview, because I'm sure there are some things I'd love to get into and hopefully dispel and chat about. So
love it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many questions to ask, though. At least I do. I guess starting with since we got the young guys on and Kins isn't too prepared for this one, maybe give us a little.
I'm not prepared.
I know you're not prepared.
You always say something mean to me at the beginning of every
I'm sorry.
Actually,
I'm not
easy.
Sorry.
I am prepared.
Right. I'll do a little history of Keegan. Maybe you fill in the gaps, and then I'll ask you some questions. So you went to Delaware, right? Three Nationals appearances. Is that right?
Yeah. We won the coveted Metro East title 3 years in a row.
The Metro East title.
Yeah, that's right, man. The Blends
I think you beat Florida one of the years they won. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. I think that's up there for like Delaware ultimate achievements.
Yeah.
People conveniently forget that we went 0-3, or I think 0-2 in pool play after that, and didn't make it out of pool play, but we got that W in pool play first game of the day
against Kurt. And was that the Tim Garrett iteration of the team, or was that the?
That was 1 year after Tim. So
after Tim. So they didn't win that year.
No.
Anyway, so it
becomes even less impressive. But yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean anything, like most of your competition.
Yep.
Truck stop for 6 seasons. Is that right? Do you have that in your head?
Yeah.
Bravo for a couple. Pony now for 6 seasons. Is that right? Have you been?
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. That time flew on that one.
Yeah, seriously. Made Team USA 2020, 2021, the COVID year. What pro seasons did you play?
I played 2 years with DC Current. So that was like the MLU team, like now defunct MLU. That was super fun, man. A lot of qualms with some of the pro ultimate stuff, but super fun. That was in, I think, 13 and 14. I did that. And then I played 2 years of Empire in the ADL in, I think, 16 and 17.
Before they were any good.
Yeah, exactly. I think we had lost to Toronto like 17 times in a row at that point. It was bad, man.
All right. So you've been playing at the top level of the game now for over a decade, probably what would you like 15 years? What's your perspective been on the evolution of the game? Like how are play styles different from 13, 15 years ago versus today?
Yeah, man, I think like the biggest one is I think people are recognizing how important just possession is. Right, you see a lot of games transition from like, think of Chain in '09, like chicks dig the long ball, just like
Yeah.
let's just put it up and have a fucking blast. To you look at like I think our offense on Pony, Ring, it's just like very possession oriented. Even Bravo to an extent, right? I know Kins likes to jack up some wild ones, but for the most part,
High percentage though.
yeah, yeah. But I think the most successful programs you're seeing really put a premium on just holding onto the disc, D line or O line. That's one. I think the other big thing that I've noticed just from playing, like my first club season was '07. I ended up quitting that year with Truck Stop via text message. So that's another fun story for another day.
Please, you
but-
need to go into the details, I think.
I'll share that one in a sec.
Okay.
But just thinking about from like '07 to like 2012, those years weren't really as like televised, and so or like filmed and streamed as much. And there was just so many more like bad bids and dangerous plays and shit that would like kind of get you canceled today on Reddit. Were considered like great bids, and people were like, yes, yeah, like good D, good pressure. And so like I as like a 36-year-old dude now, I'm so glad is getting less and less common in the game.
But the bad bids piece, you're known. This is part of your reputation, Keegan, as a
For making bad bids.
oh.
No, I'm just
I don't think that's the rep. I think it's bitching
I don't
about
think it is either.
bad bids.
I was even
Yeah.
shocked to see in the video we posted, like you getting taken out on the centering pass. Like I would be
Yeah.
up in arms. Those are crazy.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. And I think let's jump into the rep stuff.
Yeah.
I think to an extent I like fairly get some flack for, complaining on the field and like quickly going to the observers like, come on, like what the hell is going, like what are we doing? Let's, cut the stuff out. But I think if you look at that clip, right, that's just a small example of some of the like bad ends of bad bids or bad plays that I've been on. And actually in all of those, I don't say or do anything. I like, tap the guy in the butt and it's like, yeah, like we're just playing hard out here, whatever.
Right.
But inside I'm like fucking fuming. Like that stuff is so dangerous. And, we're not getting paid. It's not like, it's not safe. It's not punished. And there's really no, downside, I think, for folks to do that. And so, for me, like I tend to get like pretty quick to get upset or worked up if people are playing like overly physical or like making horrible bids like that. Yeah. Right. And like, I've been probably over 100 film games at this point. And like, no doubt you're going to find some moments of me complaining, looking bad. I pushed the guy in Rhino, which is like truly one of the most like, regrettable, embarrassing things I've done. Maybe that's not true, but it's up there.
On a frisbee field, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just, it's gotten to a point where it's like very frustrating that's become the thing people now associate with Sean Keegan, in Ultimate. And like Pavel talked about it, and take what Pavel says with a grain of salt because it's Pavel. But it's frustrating because I put so much into the game and my team and being the best version of like the Frisbee player that I can be. And to have that be, I think, what people associate me with, it hurts and it stinks. And it's not, who I think I am as a person or as a player. Yeah. I mean, so that's like, I'm happy to let you guys kind of pry some more there, but that's just like the overview.
Yeah.
Maybe we need a poll, because I wonder if that is really what people associate you with, or if that's just you being in like hyper aware of like all those negative comments that you're gonna see.
That's a good point, Kens. I think that brings up a totally valid thing about like social media and Twitter and Reddit in general. It's like I'm fortunate that I've, again, like the blessing, the curse of being in all these filmed games is like I've gotten tons of praise. Ulti World's written a bunch of stuff about me. People, I just in Columbia, and people I've never met are like, "Oh, Sean, like, you want to trade jerseys? Like, I watched you play and it's awesome." Right. So there have been tons and tons of like positive encounters. But fuck, man, if it's not the negative ones you remember, it's what is. It's just that stuff just sticks with you more.
Exactly.
So like I think you're probably right. Yeah.
All the Sean, great guy. Those kind of just like roll right off. You're like, oh yeah, thanks. But then all the ones that like, fuck that guy. Those are like, they haunt you a little bit.
Like, exactly. Yeah. I think that's right.
I find that to be true with like how I play and how other people play too. People remember their turns and their bad plays more than maybe something super sick that they did. Like I'll think about a turn I had at practice for weeks, but not the great plays I had at practice. And I'm curious if that's kind of something that maybe is true for you too.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring up that example because it's like such a minor thing, right? And you guys just won national, so you have this like whole catalog of amazing things and memories that you could fall back on. But yeah, for me, a memory that pops up is this past year we played Machine in Pro Flight. It was like a pool play game. It like didn't mean anything. It didn't mean shit. So we're receiving, and I like my feet had been messed up that game. Like my shoes were like really tight. I don't know. It was so dumb. So I was like kind of cold, and we go in, we're receiving, and I think we're down like 13-12, game to 14. So we need to score and then break to win. Centering pass goes up to me. I try to throw like an around backhand on like a set play that we've run a bunch of times. Just like pops up, gets stuck in the wind, gets D'd. Machine punches in and breaks. They're pumped up because that's the highlight of their 5 years, and so, and I'm just livid, and I'm like, fuck, like that's not something that I do. I take like a lot of pride in performing in the big moments, and it was truly like a meaningless game. I mean, it affected our seed, whatever, but like in the grand scheme of things, right? Like it doesn't matter. But man, I thought about that play for like weeks, and I'm like, do I not have it anymore? Can I not break the mark? And I'm like, the fuck am I even thinking? Like, it's crazy.
That's actually really funny. I have a similar story to this, and Quinn will kind of remember it. Like, it was when I was a freshman. We were at MLC, so I was trying out, or like, this is my first event with Bird, and I dropped a pull in a game, right? And like 4 years later, we're talking about it with like some new freshmen, and I'm telling them the story, like, dude, universe point, we're playing LSU. It's like the semifinals or something, and I dropped the pull and we lose the game, and we go back and watch the film, and it's actually like, I don't know what game it was actually against LSU, but we were down like 4. The game was already over, and I had dropped the pull, and they scored. But in your head, you make it up to be so much bigger. Like throughout the years, I had genuinely thought that it was like a universe point loss that I had conceded by dropping the pull, and
cost the season. Yeah. Oh man, that's really funny. So maybe it wasn't 13-12. Maybe it wasn't the game. I don't know.
maybe the game was already over. Over.
Maybe I'll remind you of another one that you texted me about when you played truck stop in semis. That turn you had to Jimmy off was it the first you saved possession.
Oh God, yeah. Thanks, Mikey. Yeah,
you're welcome.
I just watched this one.
This is for Truck's first break you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First point of the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, fuck. That was brutal. And it's just, that's such a weird one because I just made this play to like save possession. And usually I'm like, I don't get like super jacked up and like, I have a layout catch and then just rip it to nobody kind of thing. So I felt like totally composed, totally calm. And I don't know, I just like, I think misread the angle Jimmy was coming at. And like, it was a high stall, his defender's coming in kind of tight. I just miff it. Like, I don't even know what happened. And it just, like, it happens so quick. Right. And then Truck is off to the races. They punch in a break. And it's like, before you know it, you're like, fuck, like, do I not know how to throw a 5-yard pass? You like second guess yourself for a second. But yeah, that one sucked. That was the difference too. That was it.
So, but generally you do play pretty consistently well in big games. I mean, you've played in, I think, 5 club semis at this point. A couple finals, 3 finals actually, right? Is that right?
Yeah. 3 finals.
How like what's your mentality been like? Like how has it changed over the years? And after you answer this, I'll might ask something similar to the other guys.
Yeah, it that's a great question, and it has evolved over time. And this is where I like really consider myself fortunate in terms of like my ultimate career and the teams I played on and the people I played with. Um, because I started. We kind of talked a little bit. Like started with Truck Stop, and we had never made semis, and we always thought that we had like the talent to make semifinals. Just for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Right? Like luck didn't go our way. We weren't skilled enough at the end. Whatever. We didn't know how to win. I think that was a big part of it. We just didn't have guys that had like done it before. Um, and then I joined Bravo, a team that had made semis in 2013, and they had all these like incredibly talented and like accomplished players. So guys that had won at both college and club. We had Kurt, Ryan Farrell had just played World Games. Bart Watson had won with Revolver and Jam. A bunch of guys had had success earlier that year with Mama Bird. Right, so there's all these guys that had won already, and I think that's such a valuable, important thing. If you have like championship aspirations. I think Bravo, this current Bravo team, is like an anomaly in that regard, where it's like there isn't a ton of experience at the club level in terms of like having that like ultimate success. Denny aside, I think Todd had maybe Todd was around, but I don't think Todd was on the roster. But anyway, going back to my experience, that first year on Bravo in 14 when we ended up winning, I wasn't the main guy. I wasn't like the number one cutter. I wasn't the main handler. I just was like a cog in the offense. And I was able to just play with all these guys that were great and like, kind of learn how to win from them and see how guys like Ryan Farrell approached practice. I just got like inspired by, take no reps off at practice. Like if you're not going 100%, it's a wasted rep. Like what are we doing? Right. We put so much time and energy and effort into trying to hit this goal of being the best team. Like don't slack, like don't make it for nothing. And so seeing that approach and seeing that hard work ultimately pay off in a championship that year, I was like, fuck, this is the blueprint. Like this is how you do it. Right. And so that helped teach me. And I think younger guys like Jimmy, who were incredibly talented, what it meant to be part of like, a team that's striving for that stuff, who are striving for those like high goals. And so then when I came to Pony, they were kind of in a stage where they were on the ascent, but, had kind of been like this wacky, silly, goofy team for a few years. And like, no one was considering them as like title favorites or anything, or even like semis contenders.
Even making nationals consistently prior to 2018 wasn't that well, it wasn't a surprise.
I think they missed 1 year, but
it wasn't like a perennial thing.
Yeah, exactly. So then in 17, I joined Pony. And, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to take credit for like Pony's ascent, like that I brought the lessons from Bravo over. But I think in 18, when we brought a bunch of guys over, like that was the year Ben Yacht joined. Yacht joined with me in 17, but Jimmy joined in 18. Right. And we just had this group of people that were like ready to win now and had won.
Evan came out of retirement that year. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Another guy who like, you're not going to, unless you really follow Ultimate, you're probably not going to like, think of Evan as like a key part of why we won or anything. But like, anybody on Pony will tell you like Evan is a huge part of the success that we've had as
culturally,
like an approach to practice, culturally, approach to training. He's one of the hardest working guys on the team, and he's, 20th on the roster kind of thing. It's like that kind of expectation setting of like, this is what it takes to win. It takes this kind of commitment and dedication. And so, I was just fortunate to have this trajectory of like coming up and playing with guys that have done there and been there before. Then when it came time for Pony, I was 30, I think, when I started playing with Pony already. And, at that point, games didn't like phase me. I'd been in big games. I'd had high expectations. And I knew I was with a bunch of other guys that had already done it, right? Like all the confidence in the world playing next to Jimmy. Chris had just played, for the world's team and made the world games team. So it's like, for me, it's easy to be confident because I've got, world's levels players up and down the roster. And I know that my boys are working super hard. So it's like, I'll go with these guys any day. That's a long-winded answer.
No, it's a good one. Maybe I'll segue to, maybe we'll start with Kins here. Like, did you feel like any of our college failures helped prepare you, at least in terms of big games, and how, like, hearing what Keegan said, how does that resonate with you? I mean, he's kind of right. We didn't have a lot of proven players going into last year.
Yeah, no, that was a great answer, Sean, too. And I think eventually you learn from your mistakes. I think that it took a while for me to make probably similar mistakes. Like I even really liked, we had Liam on the pod last week, and he was just talking about his greatest strengths as a player were primarily like team oriented things in terms of culture and like knowing what to say and those types of things. And I think that those were things that I did not give enough thought to, growing up, and kind of just focused more on like the actual X's and O's and like skills of playing Ultimate and becoming a better player, and not necessarily recognizing the importance of the culture that the team has. Because I think like one of the biggest things for Bravo was just like, for most of the people on that team, it was like probably one of the best weekends of Ultimate they'd ever had. And so like, I think one thing that I used to focus on too much in college was like trying to make players better, like myself, like trying to improve other players, like ceiling. Like I want to make this person who's like pretty good, like a really good player, instead of just being there as like a supportive teammate and maximizing what they already have, like as skills, if that makes sense. So not trying to make them better huckers, make them better cutters, make them more aggressive, but like
Make the
realizing the
fit.
importance of just maximizing their potential, not even making like, yes, making the pieces fit, but just like getting the most out of them then in the most important weekend, which is nationals, which I think Bravo did a really good job of. Like those guys were playing to their like max potential that weekend. And that is something that I think like when teams are doing really well, obviously, everyone is playing, or most people are playing as, close to their best. And so I think that was one of my biggest takeaways is just thinking of different ways to support people. Yeah. To get them to reach their potential.
Quinn, any thoughts from you on the topic?
I think both of them hit the nail right on the head there. But as far as like experience and stuff, going into club nationals like this past year, it just felt like we had nothing to lose. And I think that's a really dangerous thing for a young, talented team to have. I think that contributed to our success a lot. We were out there, we were having fun, we were playing loose, and like Ken said, we all had our
you don't know what you
weekends,
don't know sort of
yeah,
thing.
so like let's just do it and see what happens. And we all did it, and we all had great weekends, luckily, and it was great. But I'm hoping that all the young experience that we have for the following years are going to translate into the next years. Remains to be seen, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Keegan, having been through many iterations of good teams, like what are the successive years like? Do you have any advice? Like how do you sustain greatness?
I mean, when I figure out the answer, I'll tell you. Right, I've yet to win back to back, man. Yeah. But no, I mean, just to comment quickly on your guys' run, like it was really cool to see. Obviously, there's like a pretty big twinge of jealousy that comes along with it because Quinn, like you said, right, you guys were able to you were able to approach nationals in such a different mindset than Pony or even Truck, maybe Ring, I don't know, but like we're going in like the expectation is that we are going to win nationals, right? Like if we don't win nationals, the season's a fucking failure.
Right.
And that's hard, right? Like that is there's this like intrinsic pressure that you feel at all times to like perform your best. And I mean, I love it personally. I think, BVH has said it before in the past where it's like, there's no pressure, there's no diamond. Right. And like, we kind of live that where it's like, I wouldn't still play if that wasn't the goal and the expectation for us. But that said, like, the idea and the mindset where you could just go in and be like, we have nothing to lose. We know we're super talented. No one thinks the 8 seed Bravo is going to win nationals. Like no one picked y'all to win. I doubt you guys even had yourself as like,
puncher's
stone in the finals kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And but man, in a way I'm jealous, not just the fact that you won, but that you were able to just go in and be like, let's just have fun. And like Kins was saying, like, let's make this our best weekend. Let's get the most out of each other. And like, let's just go for it and see what happens. And like, it seems like it was an awesome time.
Yeah.
To follow up on that, before the season, I was like really confident that we could make semis. But beyond that, I wasn't as confident that we could be a top 2 team as opposed to like top 4. I was like, we can definitely be a top 4
Get
team
in that mix.
I was telling Ben all year, I was like, hey, like, you can't retire after this year. Like, we're gonna make semis this year, and you're not gonna want to retire. And then, of course, we win, so he had to retire. But whatever.
Yeah. I think, like, just kind of going back to your question about like sustaining greatness. I think it's tough. I think one thing that we've kind of talked about is like, just because you've done it once doesn't mean that's going to keep happening, right? Like, look how, at least in the men's division, how rare repeat champions are. Hasn't happened since 2010, 2011 with Revolver. Yeah. And like the roster changes, people change, motivations change, life situations change. It's tough, man. There's no right answer. I think just continuing to capitalize on the things that make it fun and make it interesting and a thing that you want all the team to be a part of. That's what we found a lot of success in with Pony. Like, we've got one of the oldest teams in the maybe ever, right? Like 3/4 of our team is over 30, which is a group of guys that like loves being together and loves going to like fight for this goal of being the best team in the world.
Let me ask a few Pony specific questions. I guess sort of sticking on the team wide thing. Has there been a favorite? Actually, have you had a favorite team that you've ever played for? Not like Pony, Bravo, Truck, College, but like
an iteration of a team.
Yeah.
And
which one was the best, in your opinion? Maybe it wasn't the one that won. Was it last year's?
Yeah, I think the best team might be. Actually, no, the favorite team is way easier to answer. It's 2018 Pony. 2014 Bravo winning was like super fun, amazing. Had like truly, it's like a great time. But it didn't feel like my team, right? It was like already this established semis level team that I joined as like one of a bunch of superstars kind of thing. Again, awesome time. But 2018, I felt like I was there for the year before, where like I helped Pony get to like the next level. Like, we only made quarters that year in 2017. But you could kind of see the foundation building and the ramp up towards, that higher stratosphere of teams that we wanted to be in. And I felt like I was a big part of that. And so then 2018, man, it's hard to describe why it was such a great year. We were fortunate that we had success kind of throughout the whole year. We won every tournament we played in from US Open on. And so it's like, we didn't really know losing that much, and just, we were battle tested and it was fun. And it was just this journey with, again, a lot of guys that had won at some level before. But we were building this unique new thing together and like helping get this program that hadn't had a lot of like, deep runs at nationals in the past. Yeah. And I remember saying, I think it might've been the weekend before regionals, we had this team retreat. And, we kind of went around the room and we talked about, like what the team meant to us and stuff. And I remember sitting there saying, I spoke for like 15 minutes. God bless the team that listened to me kind of like give a monologue for 15 minutes, but just kind of going off about how much it meant. And, we had this nationals goals, but even if we didn't win, like that this run and this team and like just being part of this is just something I'll cherish forever. And like, even so then we won, right? And it just like was kind of like a cherry on top. Like, the year already would have been just like this amazing thing. And it's just, I still have just such fond memories of that.
I think that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that goes back into the mindset thing that we were just talking about. But like, even that year, like you were just saying, and I remember saying very similar things, this past fall, but just like, it doesn't really matter, like, I think obviously everyone wants to win nationals. Like, is there anyone who would like everyone wants to win, but like, if you're focusing on that, that's probably a recipe for failure. Like, I think too much of the focus being on winning is just an unnecessary thought that really shouldn't be like going through your head. that often, you know? And I think that's just really interesting that you mentioned that, because I think being able to then find a mindset where you get back into that headspace like every year and like approaching each season and each tournament, like, you know, it doesn't, like, we're not going to focus on winning this tournament. We're just focusing on like these systems and like these smaller parts of that are going into each game and each even second. That is kind of the, I think, one of the keys of being able to repeat.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because we haven't really since 2018 approached a season where like an explicit goal wasn't winning nationals, right? And
Right.
so we've gotten damn close a few times, and so it's interesting to think about how do we focus differently, how do we approach the season trajectory differently, would the outcome have been different? Who knows? It's like the margins are so thin. It's like maybe if we
Right.
did that, maybe we flame out in quarters, right? It's kind of a fun exercise to think about.
Right. And one thing we talked about is like it's so malleable. Like the teams are so malleable. They aren't like this one set thing. Like you aren't like Bravo national champion. You aren't like Pony national champion. Like every time you go into play a new game, like you're about to set another, like, I guess like
Like
you're about to like
anything can
reset
happen
and
in any game.
yeah, like that's the
Yeah.
point. Like, and so like being able to think like that, I think is super important because it's just like the way it is kind of too. Like there's no point in
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll ask these questions to the Quinn first, and then wrap it back to Keegan. But when you were in college, Quinn, our expectation, especially your last couple of years, was to win. Like did you feel like that mindset had an effect on how we performed, and or even the joy of the season at all retroactively?
Yeah, it definitely did. We made we kind of surprised everybody and made semis in 2018, or was it
19.
2019? 2019. And then going into the next year, we had very high expectations for ourselves, and then COVID canceled it. And then for me, like as me going into fall nationals, being an established club player at that point, kind of like what Keegan was saying, like if we didn't win that nationals, it was a complete failure. And of course, we fizzled out in quarters. Lost a pool play game and had to play, an unstoppable dark side team in quarters. And it was the expectation, speaking from like my point of view, the expectations I put on myself were just absolutely crushing. Like I could not get over how badly I wanted to win and how I thought we should have won. And I ended up having a pretty bad tournament overall, and there went my college career. But like looking back, if I truly think if I would have had more fun, played more loose, it would have been an easier experience. Because I don't have fond memories of that tournament. I don't remember having fun. I don't remember being in the moment ever, and it was just a really tough experience to go from
It's a
a
bummer way to go
semis
out.
to a
Yeah.
really good team that got canceled. Yeah, it was like we were like so good.
Brutal.
Semis, COVID, my last year was just, and then I didn't even really feel like part of that team almost because of the Lotus team, and I stayed on Bravo and I was the only one, and I just didn't really feel quite like part of that team almost, and it was a hard way to go out, but yeah, expectations are hard to deal with for I think just about anybody, and especially when you put them on yourself, it's a tough thing to deal with, but I think we live and we learn.
Totally. Keegs, since 2018, I mean, you've definitely enjoyed those seasons, but how has it felt differently? Is it as fun?
Excuse me. Yeah, man, it's a good question. Quinn, hearing you talk about it is, like really, it like hurts my heart because I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, I kind of alluded to this earlier a little bit where I said like, I wouldn't still be playing if there wasn't an opportunity to be, striving for a championship or being the best team. And so like, to me, that's what still makes it fun is this, like, we're literally trying to be the best team in the world at something. And we talk about this openly on Pony, just like how special and unique of a goal and opportunity that is. And so for me, I feel like maybe it's a bit weird, but I kind of love that pressure of like, perform, Sean, because this is what you're striving to do. And like, how cool would it be to get to say again that you're the best team, right? And like, no one can take away that Bravo 2022. I'm not going to sit here and say you're the best team, but like, no one can say you guys didn't win nationals. And that's like, at that moment, you guys were, the best team. Like you finished at the top, and that's like,
say it, Sean. Say we're the best team.
You're not getting the sound clip from me. But yeah, would I say it wasn't fun? I've talked about this too, where it's like, every year since 2019, I'm like, why do I keep playing? Like, I know what's the most likely. I know we have a very good chance to win, but the most likely outcome, the betting favorite outcome, is that I'm going to be super disappointed. I'm going to be pretty depressed for a few weeks after the season ends, and we're not going to achieve our goal because that's sports.
That's sports.
But I still go for it.
I have a kind of a follow-up question regarding this for Sean. As someone who's been playing at a very high level for so long and played in a lot of important games, how has your outlook on like managing expectations and managing pressure for yourself changed from the beginning of your career to now? Because it's something that I struggle with, and I work on all the time, and I would love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, it's a good question. I will say, Quinn, unfortunately for you, the spotlight got brighter, and the magnoscope, the magnifying glass, is going to get even more critical of, the game. But no, I think, I wish I had a good answer. I think some people kind of thrive in the pressure, and some people really don't love it. I think, we're all have played at this high level, and have you guys had a hell of a run in the bracket. So like, clearly you're able to perform in the moment. But yeah, I think for me, like I put a lot of kind of like faith and trust in what got us to those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to, thinking about Bravo practices where Ryan Farrell was, a terror and a banshee and like going crazy and giving 100%. Those practices tended to be harder than, any of the tournament experiences. And the same with Pony at times, where it's like, if I can perform at practice, and like, I'm just so competitive, and so are so many of the guys on our team, that like, losing at practice or losing our 5-pull or the scrimmage, game to 3, whatever, like that kills me and that eats me. And if I was the reason that we didn't win, it's like, I get to feel that disappointment all the time when the lights aren't on, and the games aren't recorded. So I think simulating those conditions where it matters so much to you, that's helped me a ton. And it takes a team to get there. You can't be the only one that's like all in. And I imagine it's not, right? But yeah, I think that helps.
I love that answer. A lot of high level players, when I ask them that question, I've heard this from a lot of people. They give me the answer of, well, it's just Frisbee. Like, why do you feel like it's just Frisbee? And it's like, no, dude, like we all care about this so fucking much. Like this is my life. This is what I spend the most time doing in my life right now. Like, it is not just Frisbee. Like, this means so goddamn much. Don't tell me that it's just Frisbee. It drives me crazy. So I love that answer.
That's kind of like the excuse or the brain hack to say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it does.
Or also, I guess, but like, if you're just like ranking in order, like the things that do matter the most, like where does winning sit in that ranking, compared to like enjoying it while you're doing it, like building a relationship with the people that you're playing with and potentially even against, like being healthy, like physically and mentally. I don't know. I think that's like one thing for me post this nationals after winning, that I realized that like, I think I put too much of a, like, I always was like what Quinn was saying was like, I care so much about winning. Like, I just want to win. Like, like all of that. And like, I do want to win.
Sue
but
me.
No. And I agree with you that I want to win. It's like, I would never sit here and tell you I don't want to win. But when I zoom out and like put in perspective, like where wanting to win sits among like other things that I care about, I guess it just kind of puts it all into perspective of like, maybe that isn't like, I think also like my ego cares way more about winning than like just like normal kins. Just
And
cares about winning.
whenever we talk about this or I think about it, I always hear Plow's voice. Keegan, Alex Tatum. I don't know if you know him. He was like one of our D-line guys. And I've played with him for like 6 years now. But I hear him saying that, having a good time and building bonds and winning are like pretty related and they're not mutually exclusive. So why can't we do both? So to rank them, I would put them 1A, 1B, right? Like
it's like what Keegan was talking about. Like it's
Exactly.
what you were doing together the whole time. As long as you're focusing on those things, then the winning should come.
Yeah.
Keegan, I wonder what you think about Bart having played with him, because just thinking about the sustained excellence, because sometimes it was hard to tell if he even gave a shit. Like he was, and would his game translate to today?
Chill.
Do you think?
I think Bart definitely cared. I think he showed it in a different way and was like, he was rarely going to be like the rah rah in your face kind of guy, but like, you don't play that long at that level without caring. And yeah, I don't think Bart's game, the way he played in like 2010 to 2013 would be like as valuable as it was then. But Bart, it'd be a disservice to like Bart and his work ethic and his skill to say that he wouldn't like have figured out how to adjust to play, in the game today in a way that's like ultra effective. So yeah, I think he would be very good still today.
You'd figure out how to possess a little bit more. They used to call. Yeah. They used to. So the Bart.
Talk about good Bart and bad Bart.
Well, the Bart in San Francisco stands for, I think, Bay Area Rapid Transit. And the joke used to be that it was Bay Area Rapid Turnover. This is the only bad thing I've ever said about Bart on this podcast.
It's funny.
I love that guy.
That reminds me of TK was telling me the other day that he was looking at stats from Nationals a couple weeks ago, and he back to Alex Tatum Plow. Apparently, like 33% of the time he touched the disc, it was either a score or a turn.
Yeah.
So he was just calling him the possession ender.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's a wild stat.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I'll ask a couple more pony questions here. You've talked a little bit about, some of the Bravo, the guys who had done it before, coming from Bravo. It seems like Jimmy, maybe you had brought some of those vert stack plays over. The one that comes to mind is what I think you probably still called it the broken E, because
broken egg, yeah.
You call it broken A. Just were like
broken egg.
Oh, broken egg. So it's usually Jimmy at the front of the stack, peels off, goes deep, and then curls back under. And so talk about some of the stuff you guys inherited from other teams, but also I want to mention quickly, like a lot of this stuff works really well because of your throwing style. I think because you are able to get breaks off quickly, like with pace, and also like you don't throw with a ton of extension. It doesn't seem like you just throw it like somehow through the mark. There's a lot in that question, and I guess take it in any direction you want.
Yeah, so my initial thought was like, whoa, Mikey, I'm not gonna give our plays out here, but you watch any film, you'll see Jimmy make this cut 20 times, so it's not like a big secret. I think it'd be a mistake not to take some of the successful components from the 2014 Bravo team to like future teams that you're on. That said, I think a lot of it is just like playing to the strengths of the personnel that we had, right? I've got Harper who can throw it a mile. Chris, who can get open in the smallest of spaces. Now we got JR who can do the same thing. Jimmy, who is, I think the best thrower in the world, but, also still at whatever age 31, 32, still a very good deep threat. And so if he's going to make that cut where he just kind of like, I'm trying to do it on camera, go from the front and like, you don't want him to take off because he's still going to be very good if he goes and gets it. So you got to respect it. And then, just him coming back under is super valuable because now he's, the best thrower in the world with,
Right.
Some yardage. But yeah, I think, a lot of our offense is predicated on like trying to play to our strengths. And part of that is, me feeling very comfortable breaking the mark, and I don't really hug it too much anymore. I used to be much more of like a, not quite as big a gunslinger as Kins, but, I put him up. But now, like possession being so valuable, and yeah, I've really prioritized the big part of my game being like, initiating the offense or like keeping the offense flowing by like moving the disc upfield, however that happens.
Quinn, you've talked about this a little bit. Like you're the most valuable pieces of your center handler, that role. Like obviously we have Nut with Summit, and he's a big time thrower. He is the gunslinger. What would like? I mean, I'm not gonna ask you to not, to disagree with Nut's play style, but how, like, what, when you think of like the strengths of that spot, like what are you really looking for?
Are you asking me or are you asking
I'm
Quinn?
asking Quinn. Quinn is
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I kind of think, I didn't always think this, but I kind of think the center handler should pretty much rarely huck unless they catch like an upline that's like pretty free. Because I think the most valuable thing they can do is break the mark at the right times and make the right play always. And that's we talked about this before, but that's what Ben did for us at Nationals this year, and it like steadied our ship so hard. Like knowing that Ben was catching the centering pass was like, oh, he's gonna break the mark and he's gonna do the right thing. And if he's not gonna break the mark, he's just gonna swing it and then get it back, and it's all gonna be chill. Which is, for me, having that as a center handler, I initiated almost like every play. It was just so nice to have, and I think breaking the mark and making the right play is way more important than making the big play.
Yeah, you can go anywhere, right? And it's like if you're open, Ben's gonna get it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that steadiness, it helps calm the nerves, I think.
So much.
Kins, what are you thinking if we center to you?
Huck it, baby.
Well, Sean was like, hey, if you're open anywhere, but like clearly not if you're open like 50 yards downfield. Obviously, I guess we're not.
Well, but sometimes the right play is the huck, right?
Sometimes, yeah, totally.
That's something for me where it's like, 90% of the time, especially off a centering play when I get it, like it's gonna be an underthrow to somebody, but it's like, man, if someone wants to front Chris, okay,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like you got to be able to still put it. So
Yeah.
it's still a good tool to have in the bag.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think I've been through one huck at Nationals, maybe
Really,
two maybe.
Yeah,
that I can think of.
Not many.
That's not because he's got bad throws. That's
No,
a
it's
talented,
not.
That's a talented guy. Yeah,
It's really
Right.
not. It was like,
Right.
yeah. I don't know. I think it might have been one. Jeez Louise.
Talk about Pony's practices. What are they like? What do you do? Obviously, not asking you to give away secrets here, but
Unless you want to.
yeah, unless you want to. But more and more people are interested in just like how hearing from top level teams and players, like how do you become a top level player or team, and what are the things you're working on, or maybe even individually your own personal training.
Yeah. I've said this to others before when they've asked similar questions. And like, unfortunately, I don't think Pony is like a great team to try to emulate in terms of practices. And I say that because, again, I think we're incredibly fortunate and blessed to have just like the depth of skill and talent and experience that we have. We're not spending a lot of time on like individual player development or, like skills at practice. There's almost an expectation that kind of stuff is being worked on your own outside of practice. And it's similar to 2014 Bravo, where like that bar is like so high for us. And I'm not trying to be like bragging about our team or anything. It's just, we've been lucky to get all these guys that have, been super
Played on
talented.
world games, different world
Yeah.
scenes. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, not that it's a waste of time for us to run, like a break mark drill or a dump set drill, because we do that. But in terms of like, if you're a college level team and trying to maximize the, every part of everybody's game, like what we do at practice, it's not going to be, beneficial. That said, I mean, we compete a lot. It's a lot of competing, right? So there's, we start out by playing, mini basically in the end zone. Then we do like the pretty standard 4 lines drill. Right. And you'll see us do this at tournaments. So this is, not like a secret here. But there's almost always like some sort of competitive component. And I think that helps for us. Then there's a lot of scrimmaging, a lot of 5 poles. I think it might change a bit more this year, where we like try to work on some skills and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's like from a team wide perspective, kind of what we're doing. Individually, I think the biggest reason I've still been able to play is just, following a regimented workout plan and, working out year round. And my kind of mindset is, you don't have to get you don't have to get in shape if you've never get out of shape.
Right.
I think LeBron said that once and I really liked it. I was like, that feels like a good guy to emulate here. So yeah, that's where I'm at there.
Going off your experience and mostly age at this one,
Old man.
watching, I wasn't super into like players until probably 2018, so I didn't really know who anybody was until then. But like watching you play from like 2018 till now, I think it's the best version of you I've seen. And so I'm curious, like, when did you feel like you were your best? When you were in your athletic prime and playing prime as well?
It's a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Quinn. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I would say athletic prime, man, probably like 2011 or 12. Just from like a strictly, athletic, injury free, raw power. Like I've had some knee issues. I've gotten knee surgery before. Yeah, just, I could dunk a Frisbee at that point. I can no longer, do that. But I think as like time has gone on, like my game has changed, and I've played pretty much every position on an elite level team at this point. Like I've been, lately the main center handler on O. I've been a D handler. I've been a D cutter. I've been an offensive cutter with Bravo. So I just feel like I have a very complete, holistic sense of the game and how it works and where to go. So in a sense, I think I'm, more effective than ever because of all those, factors. Even if my athleticism is declining a little bit each year, I'm not quite as explosive on D. I didn't, get many Ds this year. I'm, maybe closer to a net negative than a net positive or even net neutral on D. But, I think my value comes on the offensive side, of course. I would say 2019 was probably like the closest to where like my athletic peak and my, Frisbee
Sense.
IQ and skill and sense were the closest to being as like maximized as they could be. But I still feel like I'm close enough to it that I'm still effective.
Yeah.
So we've kind of buried the lead a little bit here. Does this mean Sean Keegan is not retiring for 2023?
We'll see, man. I just got, I'm just coming off getting like PRP injections in my knee like a month ago. So I ran and sprinted and played for the first time down in TEP, the Colombian tournament. Felt okay. Ran around some of the Empire boys a little bit. So, that felt good to feel like I still got it in a sense. I don't know. We talked a little bit earlier in the podcast just about like, how much Frisbee means to us. And, if I'm playing Frisbee, I don't want to play half-hearted. I don't want to be 85% in because it's a disservice to me. It's a disservice to my teammates that I know are giving 100%. And there's other life things that I, have put on hold, right? I'm 36 and have been playing the game for such a long time that outside of the COVID year, I haven't ever had a year where it's like gotten to do the stuff I wanted and didn't know what my schedule looked like from, May through October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you,
so we'll see. I'm not, yeah. So I'm not committed to saying I'm 100% in at the moment. There's still a few things I want to kind of just see and figure out and see how my body holds up as I, ramp up towards the tryout process. So we'll see.
So they might cut you.
Yeah, this is me just saving face if I get cut.
Maybe the saddest thing for me if you retired would I want to see you and Atkins on the field together, getting the spiciness. I want to see you guys
Hell
trash talk
yeah.
each other.
Oh yeah.
Two O-line
Yeah, we never gotten
players.
to.
We won't play that because we're both on offense.
Yeah. Yeah, Kins, you were hurt up until maybe like regionals this past year, right? So you weren't on the game at the game when was it Pro Flight?
No, I didn't go.
Yeah,
To,
Pro Flight, yeah.
didn't go.
Okay.
Pro champs, yeah.
Pro Champs.
Pro
Not
champs.
there. 1-for-1 with Bravo. Luckily.
I gave Will Laurie the finger that game. One of the nicest guys in the world.
Oh yeah.
Talking
Wait,
about
why Will? What did Will do?
What happened there? Why?
Nothing. I don't know.
Fucking
Just like
Will.
yeah, it's so funny. So I thought about it later. It's like, damn, I couldn't have picked like a nicer guy to give the finger to. I don't know. I just like some call happened. The game got like fairly chippy.
That was a pretty intense game.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I think Will just kind of like jokingly said something like, of course not like very inflammatory because he's such a nice guy. I was like, shut the fuck up, Will. I gave him the finger. I was like on the sideline. We weren't even like near each other.
Yeah, I think you weren't even on that line. Yeah, I remember.
No.
I remember. I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
I sent him a message later. It's like, my bad, man. I think you're such a nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That actually, that leads into one of our fan questions here.
Oh hell yeah!
Going back into the reputation piece, it's from CJ Epps 12. He actually asked two questions, but the first one is: do you wish you could change some of your more controversial calls? Does anything come to mind?
That's an interesting question. I feel like, thanks for the question. I guess I don't know that I can think off the top of my head of like controversial calls per se. I don't think that's necessarily like the qualm most people have with me. I think more so than calls, it's I guess that I like, I don't know, complain to the observers or like get mad. But yeah, I guess I'll try to address what he's asking. I would there are definitely incidents I would change. And like, if I could go back and not react initially the way I did, or like say something that I did, like giving Will Laurie the finger. Like if I could go back in time, yeah, I would absolutely not do that. Right. It's embarrassing to myself. It's embarrassing to my team. And it's just like a person that I know and like, so it's like, what am I doing? Yeah. So I can't think of a specific call, but yes, I can assure you there are moments that I would go back and like act differently.
And I hope I'm not breaking any confidence here, but Keegs, you've definitely texted me about Atkins a little bit, and maybe I'll actually address this to Atkins first. And Atkins, you have a bit of a spicy rep as well. Like, what are your thoughts? And just listening to Keegan talk about all of these experiences over the years.
I think some people are at least like myself and maybe Sean are just like, I'm pretty emotional. And so, like in my quiet times when I'm thinking and, I'm obviously I would act differently, but especially when I play Ultimate, like one thing I've come to accept and realize over the years is like, I just am very egotistical when I play. I have a very large ego when I'm playing Ultimate because I want to be really good. I am good. So like a lot of it is that's like most of what it's from, and just being very emotional and not like being able to like filter those emotions properly all the time. And like, it's easy to get like upset at people or like recognizing like anger when like other people are doing well or like have beaten me doing something. And because that's just like a shot at my ego, which is so dumb because like, of course you're not going to be the best at everything and you're not going to win every little tiny matchup. But like, that is how I feel sometimes, when I play. So I think it's just like that balance. And I don't know. I go back and forth on it a lot because it's like, as much as I want to change that, like I don't know how much I can like really like so much of it is just ingrained in like who I am.
Right. Yeah.
What
Go
about
ahead.
this one's for both you, Sean? You can go first. Is there any times that maybe you did something a little controversial or out of pocket that you wouldn't change? Like, did this person deserve it? Like, I don't know. It comes to
That's a
mind like
good one.
there's sometimes like I like maybe a bad spike or something. It's like thinking back on some of them, like I'm like, no, I wouldn't change that. Like they deserved it. Like fuck, like come on.
Yeah. That's a good question. It's funny because before the podcast, I like figured this would come up and like had a Rolodex of things in my head of like, oh yeah, they might ask about that. That wasn't great. But now I'm like drawing a bit of a blank. But yeah, I'm sure there are moments where I was like,
Yeah.
no, that was a dick move by me, but it was probably justified because, whether it's like caught on camera or not, like the context is available to others. It's like, no, like that was pretty shitty, and yeah, but I can't think of anything offhand.
Yeah. Okay. Kins, you got
Can
anything?
you think of anything?
Come on, man.
Like things that I would want to take back or stuff. I don't.
No, you
I,
wouldn't want
that
to
you
take. You
don't
wouldn't
wanna
want to
take
take
back.
back. Like
no, I don't care. Like I mean, the things that I would want to take back are things that. No, I don't know. This is so deep. Like this
I'm
is
not.
such
I'm
So-
not asking about the stuff you
everywhere-
want to take back. The stuff you wouldn't want to
I
take back that you
understand.
did that was controversial.
I understand.
Like the double
I
spike
don't
you
know.
would do again today.
Oh come on, that was hilarious.
That's the thing. It's like the double spike was one of the funniest things I've ever
Yeah.
done.
Oh,
Like,
I could find
and
it.
I look at it and I'm like, I don't know what was going. I know what was going on through my head. I look so
Keegan,
dumb
do
when
you
I'm
know
like
this
walking
moment?
off.
Yeah, I remember it.
I look so silly when I'm walking off because I'm like, why do I look upset? Like I'm not upset, but that also is like the ego thing again. Like I was like disrespected that like Jake let me go
Yeah.
deep there, and then I just like had to like spike it a couple times. I don't know. It's just. But
So what comes to
I
mind
don't
for
know.
me is I've used this term frisbee hate. People will
Mhm.
frisbee hate you, but then take that into real life too often, I think. And it kind of goes into the holier than thou, comment that you had, Sean, and we've talked about a little bit offline. Like what bothers me the most is like I know both of you really well as people, and I wouldn't want to change anything about you. I mean, there's always growth and evolution that everybody can go through, but it frustrates me that I'll just say I can share a bit of your frustration without having to deal with some of the reputation issues.
You find
It's-
yourself like
it's-
defending people you care about.
Yeah, totally. It's
Yeah.
like you should have the full context on somebody if you're going to be blasting them online, in my opinion.
But and you can like blast maybe a specific action, but you don't need to blast like who they are as a whole person.
person.
Because I also think like a lot of what I do, it's just like what makes people up, like what makes
Yeah.
each person
Yeah.
special and like who they are. Like I like a lot of that, just like a lot of those like things that I do that maybe aren't as great like on the field and stuff. Also, just like are a side effect or just like come natural to like some of the positive things that I do as well. Like, like am going to like speak my mind more often than not. And yeah, so in a lot of those situations, like perhaps it's not great, but also in a lot of situations where like, someone should probably be speaking their mind here because like something needs to be said, then it's a positive. So it's just like no one, and like what, like is anyone walking around like making the correct decisions all the time and like doing like acting in a way that like nothing they ever did, like they kind of well, we could have done it better. Like it's just it's a whole mess of a subject, honestly. And that's why I think you can't beat yourself up too much. You acknowledge things that you did that weren't great, and you try to improve on things that you would like to improve on. And you also like, I think just accepting who you are and accepting
Yeah.
who you are is like the biggest part of it. Cause even if there are some things that you want to improve that you can't change about yourself. So like just being able to accept those things is a good start. And you can't start improving them until you've accepted that like
Life advice
Yeah.
with
Life
Sage
advice from
Kins.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of that I think makes sense, man, and resonates. And, how old are you kids? 22, 23?
24
24? Okay.
Oh.
Old.
I mean,
Old.
Oh.
grown
a lot of
ass
it.
man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, 36-year-old me agrees, man. Yeah. But no, like a lot of what you're saying resonates, man. And it reminds me honestly of like 24-year-old me. And, I think one of the things that still kind of frustrates me to this day is one, the quickness that people have to judgment. And like, if they see one thing, it's not just like, uh, that was a shitty thing that they did. It's like Sean's a shitty person for doing it. Um, and that hurts because it's like, these are my peers, right? Like this isn't, we're not in the NBA where we're so far removed from the people saying this stuff. It's like, we're going to eat at the same shitty hotel breakfasts, at tournaments. Like we're going to be at the same Frisbee parties, right? Like we're going to sit across from each other. It's not like I read this stuff, Um, and so it's this thing that I care so much about has now turned into, like Sean's a punching bag and like a punchline for, whatever people want to complain about. And what they don't see is all the work that's gone into like making the improvements that you're talking about, Kins, and like how much of a hothead I was when I was 10. And, like I was just like a total shit and like had so many anger issues that stem from all sorts of stuff. So justified or not, like I had all these issues and problems that I've like gotten so much better at dealing with and managing over the years. And so, for every incident that happens, there's 99 where I've like done the work to figure out a way to like react better and not blow up and not do something stupid.
Yeah.
And so it just fucking kills me when people are like, nope, same old Sean, just a total fucking dickhead. It's like, man, I promise I'm a good dude.
It sort of it invalidates all that work, and it probably
like
demotivates you a little bit too.
But like not really. Like for me, it's like that stuff wouldn't get to me unless it was like Mikey saying it or like someone that has spent a significant amount of time with me. Like I am not putting any stock into something that someone I played against like twice has said against me, to be honest. Like if they could say the most heinous,
it's good.
They could say the most heinous things about me. And I mean, you maybe like, think about it for a second, but to be honest, like it's not going to like, I'm more confident in who I am and also like more confident in the opinions of like people that have spent a significant amount of time with me than someone who I've just played like one game against or watched me on a filmed game.
But then again, if that some one person that you've played against twice says something and then 20 others dogpile on top of it and then 20 others see it, don't say anything, but internalize it and then say it a year later, like
and it just becomes
something that's true, even though maybe it's not.
It's like the easiest way like, to bond with other people is to shit talk someone else.
Yeah, and I totally get that, but like if the majority of my time is being spent with like, these
I like
people,
what you're saying, Kins. I think it's super mature of you, honestly. Like when I was 24 years old, that's not how I couldn't see the world through that lens.
Well, and I'm just still saying that like that stuff I think it's still good to think about, but also if I'm making sure that most of the people that I'm having a real impact, like I don't really have that big of an impact on those people, even if they say like I hope they're not like going on like, some like deep depressive spiral because they played against me once and I was like, you suck. Like they're probably going to get over it. But like if the people I'm like roommates with or like, my girlfriend is, and like those kind of people are like, you know what I'm saying? Like
you suck.
If they have, but if they have a good positive impact from me, then like that is going to in totality mean a lot more than
for sure
those other ones.
All right, I want to ask a couple more fan questions, and we're trying to keep this relatively.
No, Quinn is. That's Quinn's agenda.
Okay.
Well, you had to go coach too.
Quinn has to go play pickleball. All right, I'm not going to worry about the time cap.
The difference is I'm helping the next generation grow, and you're playing pickleball.
Yeah,
which is the best sport in the world.
I do love pickleball.
Oh man, you got to come next time you're in Denver. Actually, I got to come visit you in New York. All right. I am Lil Joe asks, and I don't know why he chose these three people, but he said, who plays with more fire? You, Nick Stewart, or Dylan Freechild?
Huh.
Is that too obscure of a question?
That is an odd.
It's an odd grouping. I don't think Nick Stewart, he just seems more like he's not
Yeah,
having
one
a
of
good
these is
time.
not like the other.
Just angry.
Yeah. I think he's a talented player, but yeah, he just looks like he's not enjoying himself that much. Whereas Dylan and I are both like, we'll piss some people off. I think we're kind of different, Fire. I would probably say Dylan. I think for the most part, I'm still pretty like positive. I'm not like rah rah yelling that much anymore. I think the Fire you see is when I like, get mad because someone made a bad bid or is like hacking and fouling me, and then I'll get fired up. But I'm not like you're not seeing me like leading huddles anymore.
When
Like
Dylan scores, it's like somebody offended him.
yes, yeah, yeah. I'll go with Dylan.
Okay, we'll go quick with these ones. Declan 8 Jackson asks, best marks Sean faces year in, year out.
Whoa, that's
That's
a
a-
really good one.
Yeah,
I
that
like
is a
this
good
one.
one.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of folks that like consistently. There's very few people that I think like very few marks that I feel like affected by, or like that I can't still get a throw off. I just have to like be a little bit more deliberate. If I don't say Conrad Schloor, he'll get upset. So I'll give Conrad a shout out for his ability in the 4 lines drill. But I honestly like I'd say the things that impact me more are way less the mark and way more people that prevent me or like make it harder to get the disc.
Right.
The mark I really, I'm not trying to sound overly cocky, but I don't often feel like the mark has a ton of effect on me.
Let's rephrase the question then. Like, who's the toughest matchup for you?
Okay. There was a guy on Ring whose name or Alan Laviolette like covered me a few times. It's been a bit, but he did a nice job. Machine, Sam Canner. I mentioned him in the comment that I put. He was annoying again just because it was like overly physical. I think that's typically what folks think is going to be the best way to like have a good like do a good job on me. Yeah. The other thing is, man, I truly am blessed again to play on Pony because like I'm not often going to be A1. Yeah, the A1 defenders, right? Like Chris, Jimmy, JR, Sam. You're going to want to stop those guys. But some teams do put A1 on me just because I'm probably easier to get a block on than any of those guys. But again, now I'm avoiding the question because I'm struggling to think of anybody.
Well, one thing that you do well, and I think people should watch you on film, is you always keep your defender in motion. So you kind of negate some of the athletic component by keeping them on their heels. I have actually had a lot of clips pulled of you as teaching examples for that reason, even if you're not necessarily running the same type of resets that we do. So good learning component.
Kind of a follow-up. I find it because I agree with you that there's not many people on other teams that I'm like, wow, that guy's mark was really good. Like that gave me a lot of trouble. But people that I play with a lot that know my like ticks and my consistencies. Yeah. Like I find myself like I got hand blocked twice at fucking practice last night.
Yes,
and I haven't been hand blocked in a game in
they were
I don't know how long.
It was
dude.
Smash and Kai.
Yeah, it was Smash and Kai. They're
really
both
long.
6'5".
Yeah.
But it's like but even like short people that like Calvin hand blocked me at Mini the other day and he's shorter than I am and I'm not even 6 feet. Like people that know what I want and like even like people that like know my shimmy, it's just like they don't even fall for it, but everybody else falls for it. So it's like people at practice, I get hand blocked all the time, but like never in games.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, Quinn, because I was like, fuck, I'm not trying to sound like there's no good defenders. It's just like the guys that know me the best are going to be the most effective usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And TK is listening to this for sure.
For sure.
I think that other teams may not prepare as well for a specific matchup as he does. So that could be a factor as well. Defense is hard. All right.
Hardest.
Go ahead.
Tyler Chain did a good job. We only played them, I think, once or twice, but he's a guy that's like just as, he's faster and quicker than me. So whenever you're like way faster or quicker than me, and also like playing physical. Sometimes he did a nice job.
Was he playing
So
Dig
I named the name. Yeah, he's
or
on
Iron?
Dig.
Okay.
The hardest matchup. The last thing I'll say. The hardest matchup is when it's people that are bigger than me, like both height wise and like stockier, and also faster and quicker. Who did Spicer guard? Because I was not at Pro Champs.
Jimmy.
Who's guarding Jimmy?
Oh,
yeah.
I would be curious to see what your opinion of that matchup would be.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. All right, here we go. More questions.
Yeah. Let's see. Andres Tescone 85 asks, after playing in Colombia for a few times now, any general thoughts about Colombian ulti?
It's a very different approach than I think we take in the States. Most teams, at least. First of all, if you haven't been, Colombia is amazing, gorgeous country. The ultimate community there is so welcoming and friendly, and like just a great environment to be a part of. So huge shout out to Tep and everyone there. Like very, very much recommend people go. The ultimate itself, I can really only speak to the men's as far as like teams I've played against. Revo's doing their thing, which is amazing to watch. But the men, I think, are like a bunch of whirling dervishes. Like everyone seems to be able to like just throw and run immediately. And oftentimes it doesn't look like there's a ton of structure, but maybe that is their structure, is being a little bit more like free flowing. And so it's very tough for us sometimes to keep up with, just because, I think American style teams
way different style. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We're just kind of focused on like more structured, and like, with the vert stack, it's your turn to cut from the front or the back. And, you're not like whistling at people from the middle of the stack because your guy pushed off for a second. But it's fun. It's exciting. And I think the future is bright in Colombia.
Have you ever talked to Felix from Hive, the Hex guy?
Oh.
A little bit. I think over some whiskey at Nationals one year.
What do you think about, speaking of offenses, like Pony is one of the few teams that runs that much vert stack. Less and less last year, I would say. At least some more spread, some more horizontal looks with Jimmy and Chris in isolation. But he's like he in his mind, isolation offenses and vert stack offenses are not good. But we also are much better teams. We have much better players. What do you have any thoughts on Hex in general?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't ever practiced or played in a system that's trying to use Hex. So, I can't give like a firsthand account on, how, efficient or productive I think it is. I will say that I do believe that Ultimate is very much in like an elementary phase in terms of like strategy and like offensive structure and various things. So I'm all for somebody like trying something new and like pushing the envelope. And I think it's a shame how much like pushback Felix gets and how much he gets shit on for like it being like a bad offense or whatever. It's like, we've never seen it. Like, why not? Why wouldn't we support someone trying something new, right? And if it doesn't work, cool. I'm sure there's valuable things to take away from it. I would love to be like that center person in a Hex. I think it'd be super fun to just throw it whoever I want and kind of like, run around. But I don't know about the specifics of it.
Yeah.
It feels like Truck even did something new for sure this year. And it wasn't really Hex, obviously, but it kind of had some principles of Hex a bit. So yeah, I agree. Like trying something new would be great, and it really worked super well.
4-1-2.
So
4-1-2. This is Kins' offense.
That'll never happen.
We're not
like
saying
4
no
behind
to
the
it.
disc.
Actually,
what's the 4? What's the 4?
Yeah, let's
yeah,
hear
go
it,
ahead,
Kins.
Kins. Is it a trade secret? I mean, I can.
No, it's not a trade secret. Actually, be interested to talk about it. Okay.
Here we go.
They call it a German, but it's like a 3-1-3. And
Yeah,
Truck actually do it against
know
you
this.
guys. So it's just 3-1-3. They have like 3 handlers,
Rowing,
They
slashing
would put like
across.
rowing in the middle, go like somewhere side to side, and then they had 3 people down here. The idea behind it is figuring out new ways to get as many people behind the disc as possible and playing around with like messing and like obviously you somewhat know how a defense is going to react when you're trying to have as many people behind the disc as possible, but like playing around with having more people behind the disc and isolating more people downfield. So yeah, 4 people not behind the disc, but essentially like someone catches the pull,
Spaced differently.
throws it up to centers it to one person, and then there's going to be 2 people flanking the person with the disc and 1 person behind them. So that's your 4. And then there's 1 person in front of them. Quinn, stop fucking rolling your eyes, bro.
I just it's so hard to just like focus seeing Quinn just like
It's so stupid, dude.
Why is it stupid? Why? Tell me why.
Let me.
I don't want to get. I don't want
Right, you don't have anything to say. Exactly.
So
4,
here's what
1, and then 2 people like farther downfield. The idea being trying to advance the disc like, 15 yards to someone who's like isolated, and then having a whole field in front of you with only like a couple cutters to, play around with. And then like I think one of the most important things of like trying it would be fighting the urge as a thrower who throws the disc or someone who's in the backfield when you throw an under or a pass that like advances forward, not immediately running forward. You see what I'm saying? Because I think that obviously a good defender eventually, I think it would take some teams and defenders a little bit to adjust, but obviously the next correct response would be like, okay, we're going to then take the defenders that aren't being used by people that are behind the disc and have them like run up
Just
and like
load up,
clog the field. But then my idea as the response to that is like, once they go in that lane, that's when you then sprint forward and you start moving the disc more quickly with the people that are now unguarded by, and we'll also take a second to get the mark on them.
Yeah. I can appreciate the, when somebody shits on my idea because of X happening, I've got a backup for that. Because, my initial thoughts were like, kids, all you have to do is just like take one of these people and just put them out in the lane. But
Totally. I mean, I would be so dumb if I didn't immediately think of that, because it also just stems from like a lot of people are doing way more small ball stuff. So the idea is like, also, if you advance the disc quickly enough, they're not going to have like, if you can get it to this next layer of then having isolation where it's only like 3 people and a full field to work on, there may be points where you can advance the disc quickly enough to that it doesn't even matter like that people are way behind because there's no one that's going to be able to sprint that fast forward. And so much like small ball has been happening lately that, okay, like now imagine a world where like you're 15 yards behind the disc, your defender goes and sprints 20 yards to get in front of the disc to like poach, but now you come up, get a free pass, give and go with the person who just threw it to you. You don't have a mark on you because your person was sagging, so you throw it to someone. Like there's things to be played around with.
You thought of it all, man.
All right, I'm in. Let's do it.
So I actually think a lot of the
sick.
principles are very sound. There's like, I think.
Shut up, Quinn. Don't even say shit. Don't even say shit about it.
We talk about this a lot, though. I feel like more people should be able to trail the play. Like it doesn't really make sense for us. Like, Jimmy is hard enough to guard 7v7. Can you imagine if he was 1v1 or 2v2?
Yeah.
Like if it's just him and Kotcher with literally the entire width of the field and vertical depth, like nobody's stopping that.
But also, I do this in mini all the time where like when you're playing 4v4 and I tell people like once you get near the end zone, there should only be one person in the end zone, because like in my ideal setup in an end zone offense in 4v4 is like you have 3 people horizontal on the end zone and 1 person moving isolated side to side in the end zone. Because if your defender poaches, then you're just going to keep swinging the disc uncontested until like they finally slip up or someone gets open in the end zone. And if they don't poach, then it's 1-on-1 in the end zone and you're going to score every time. And I think so many people have a habit, and I watch bad players do it all the time, of just like they throw the under and now I'm just going to run into the middle of the end zone. And now it's impossible to fucking score because there's 4 people in like a 5 by 20 yard end zone. And so I think like people should have more of an idea of trying to stay out of the play longer anyway, and then trying
I
to
also
build that
think
into an offense would be
that
super interesting.
offenses should be able to change their structures more, and I think soccer teams do this a lot better. They'll just play with different people at different levels, different numbers of people at different levels. It can also potentially allow for more defensive balance. Like if you have more people, more defenders in your defense, the end zone you're defending, if you turn it over, it's going to be a lot harder to get a one-on-one fast break. You know, like if Yacht's on your D line, a turn happens, he just sprints deep. Like the other team's fucked, right? Like you can send it to Yacht, nobody's going to guard him one-on-one. But if there's already 3-4 people back there, it's honestly a tried and true principle of many other sports. So,
I mean, all you're trying to do in Ultimate is like figure out how to successfully isolate people in the most space that you can. So it's just like another way of thinking about like how could we reduce the amount of people in the largest amount of space so that like it's just fucking impossible to guard.
Yeah. Do we have time? All right. Do we have time for some more fan questions?
Yeah.
I only had 2 fan questions on my Instagram, and they were both ass. Like really
way
dumb.
Way to encourage the followers, man.
No, I don't want to encourage. No, I'm not encouraging these types of questions.
Your personal.
Yeah, and I'll read them both quickly, and then we can just. One is from Ringer, the Alti. I'm gonna read them because they don't even necessarily need questions. I mean answers. One is from the Ringer at the Alti, like that podcast, and they said, "What should my parlay for the Bulls Raptors game tonight be?" Okay, so that's that one, and no one needs to answer that. Okay, cool. The other one is from TTT Asig 12. Do you love Marquez Brownlee?
That's a good question. I like that question.
No, it's not. Improve. Yeah. If either of those people are listening, like step the fuck up.
I want to talk about Marquez actually.
That's fine, but like it's a yes or no question of like, do you love Marquez? And like, what is Sean gonna say? No.
No, I do love Marquez. He's an awesome guy. I will say like one of my favorite things about Marquez is almost like the different worlds he lives in, right? Where he's this like ultra famous, like truly like incredibly famous celebrity.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And then it's so
Crazy.
weird.
It's so
and then he comes and just like exists as one of the dudes. And it's just so cool how he's seamlessly able to do it. And like, we'll go to Chipotle together and, Marquez is loaded. Like he can eat anywhere he wants. He's like, yeah, Chipotle's good. And we just have Chipotle and somebody comes up to him and is like, hey man, can I take a photo? He does his peace sign and then we just have Chipotle. And it's just fucking, it's awesome.
Where does
He's
he
such a cool
fit
dude.
into like the social hierarchy of the team?
Yeah, it's interesting because so he doesn't live in the city. He lives in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so busy with work and like real life stuff that he comes to everything Frisbee wise. But it's a little bit harder for him to like carve out time for like a casual Tuesday hang. So well liked by everybody. No one has anything negative to say about Marquez. But yeah, he's not like
phone advice from him before.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I try to limit the amount of questions I ask him because I don't want to bug him too much. But we've gone golfing before, and I like to take advantage of that 4-hour chunk of time. Ask whatever.
Good golfer, right?
He's good. Yeah.
Other teammates, actually, Grant how's Grant doing? Number one, and number two, he's having a book reading tomorrow, right? That you're going to. I just bought the book. I would love. Just talk about his recovery and what do you know about the book?
Cool. In terms of recovery, I don't think I'm, letting out any secret, but I think he just was fully cleared. He's been rehabbing incredibly diligently, and like on a focus plan since nationals pretty much. And he's talked about how he has like not missed like a workout or session since. And so it's really, really cool to see that he's like feeling good and back. As far as the book, I haven't read it. I'm going to go to the opening and the book reading tomorrow. Everyone who's read it said, good things. So I'm excited. I think it'll be cool to get like, you get to know people so well in like some capacities when you're playing together, but like, seeing this passion project that somebody put together, it's kind of like, a gateway or a portal into this other part of their life that I think will be really cool to check out and experience.
Yeah. If you're listening and happen to not know what it is, it's called the Mediocre Monk.
Sorry, yeah.
It's
like a reflection on his time. I think he did like 6 months in like a cave in Thailand, like in a monastery. So I think it's like a reflection on that time and things he learned. But I think it's supposed to be like kind of funny too. He said one of the things he described it as was like, he wanted it to be this like serious, retrospective of his time. And he's like, damn, the more I wrote, the more I realized like, like how unlikable I was, and it became almost like a funny, like, I don't think it's like a comedy book, but I think it's just like a little bit more,
don't
like
take yourself too
seriously. Take yourself less seriously.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. It's a little lighter.
Also, what's the deal with him playing Salt Lake? I don't know if you know, but what's the deal with that?
Oh,
Hopefully
yeah.
we get him on and I can ask him myself, but what the
Yeah.
hell's going on with that?
Gosh, yeah, I don't know. Love Grant. Wish he wasn't gonna be, spending so much time with them. But no, I think him and his family have a house there. Yeah,
Oh.
and so it just, he already spends a decent bit of time out in Utah.
Got it.
So
I see.
yeah, you'll have to ask him for more details on that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've got my one fan question.
You ask it.
Not it's kind of, so I saw Nut today. I don't know what your relationship with Nut is like, but he said respectfully, in a very respectful way.
Here we go.
Respectful.
Always a good start.
It's actually not that bad. As such a good thrower, which he said about you, why do you feel the need to travel on your inside backhand?
Ooh, that's fun. It's funny. I feel like I do a pretty good job of not traveling that much, so I'll have to go back. There is like, oh man, he's probably referring to the clip from Worlds where
he literally is. Yeah,
that was an egregious bad travel.
Was he marking you on that one?
I think so.
You threw it on inside for a goal.
Yeah, because I catch it like out of bounds almost, I think. So then I kind of like come back in or like do this like weird step where it's like, ooh, yeah, that's a travel, and that was a goal.
He described it to me, and he's like, when it happened, he's like, oh wow, like that was a really good throw. How did he throw that? And then he's like, when I watched it back, it was just such a big travel.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
But it's like, is it a travel if it's not called? Like, does a tree make noise in the forest when no one's around and it falls?
That's not how it goes, but you got the gist of it. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's like the same thing.
I actually didn't realize this was a travel. I watched that throw a decent amount, thinking like
I checked it out. It was pretty bad.
It's bad, yeah. But to be fair, I called myself out on Twitter, like I think the next day.
Oh, really?
When because somebody was like, as a sport, we need to be better about eliminating this travel from the game. Like this is like the holier than thou shit that people talk about. So I think I just like replied tweeted, it's like, oof, yeah, that's a bad one, or something like that.
My bad.
Yep, that was guilty. Yeah.
I need
Ultimate Twitter seems super dumb.
Oh, dude, it's so dumb.
Yeah. Twitter, right? All Twitter.
Yeah, agreed.
I've never had Twitter, but Ultimate Twitter, like that tweet especially, is like such a pointless thing to put out in the world.
Man, I have a bunch of more questions on here, but I guess before
let's rattle some off.
Do we have fan questions? I want to hear
it.
Do we have more fan questions, Mike?
Oh, we do have.
Did we ever call out our fan who emailed us? What was?
You got a fan email, and that's big.
Our first email, yeah. Shout out. What's his name? What was his name?
I will. He goes by Chip.
Chip.
Right.
Shout out Chip.
Oh, dude, it's
Nicholas.
Probably great. The number one fan.
Yeah, this might be
also.
This actually might be a good question for the whole group.
Really nice, yeah. Also, shout out Plow's dad, dude. I know we didn't know he was listening until last night, and hell yeah, thanks, man.
Okay. He said I'm going to read a little paragraph here. He said, just binged all the pod episodes, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Chip.
He says, curious to hear your thoughts on different ultimate hubs in the U.S., like Seattle, North Carolina, the Bay, etc. he had some specific questions about Oregon, but maybe since with this group, where do you guys see the New York and where do you guys see the Colorado communities fitting into the bigger picture in terms of, I suppose take that whichever way you want. Sean, let's start with you. What is it? Is there a New York youth scene, or is it mostly just, this recent 5-year run with Pony?
Yeah, there is a New York scene, and there's like a dedicated group of kids and coaches and volunteers. I would say it's not quite as robust or you know large as North Carolina, probably Colorado, some of the other like big hubs. Seattle for sure, it's not as big, um, but yeah, there's like a dedicated group of folks that do it. I think a bigger issue in terms of like the pipeline from like youth in New York to college to club and like people staying homegrown and local is that there just aren't that many like top tier college programs in New York or even like the area nearby. You get to the New England area, and then those kids like tend to funnel more towards Boston. Um, so it's interesting in that regard. But yeah, I think New York in terms of the men's side of things has gotten pretty lucky with an influx of talent and folks like ending up in New York. Like it wasn't for 5-10 years there or even maybe longer, it wasn't like a hot spot ultimate bed.
Do you think the
become
talent attracts other talent? Like the fact that you and Jimmy, I mean, Kotcher had been there, I think, for a while, but is that why JR is there now? Or is that just because he has a job with Facebook or something?
I do think it is the situation where like talent attracts more talent. Like when I joined in 17, that year we got kind of lucky. It was like me, Sam Little, Ben Yacht, Harper, Conrad, like we all joined that year, right? And so that was the year Pony made the jump from, like we made the jump from, bottom of the barrel nationals team to like we made quarters that year. And so that was something that I think made it more attractive to Jimmy to come join. Was like, okay, cool. Like Chris is one of my best friends. Like I know Sean, like Evan's in the area, right? And so he didn't want to join probably a team like if we'd had the same year in 2016, I don't think Jimmy joins. And so then Jimmy joins in 18 and then a few other guys join in 18. It's like, all right, well, they just won. So, like you see it now, like people move into places. I'm sure Colorado's going to benefit from, winning. People be like, fuck it. Yeah, I want to go to Colorado.
What do you guys think? Where does Colorado fit? And we have gotten a few emails, maybe not as many as I would like, but we also don't really take remote players, so that might make it more difficult.
Yeah.
Kins, how does Colorado fit into the community? I mean, you've also been Northeast. How does it compare to the other communities?
I think it's similar to New York in the sense that it's a place where people will go to live. So I think Colorado's lucky. We're like, honestly, not a lot of our talent here is homegrown. And I think the youth scene is pretty solid here, but it's nothing incredible. And so I think most of it is that people just enjoy moving to Colorado and enjoy living here. And because there is somewhat of like an ultimate mecca, if you're like looking for a place to live and you're into ultimate, like it's a great option. And I would say that Philly suffers a similar thing as New York, where that honestly, a lot of great young players come out of Philadelphia, but there are no schools where kids are going to stay and live, in that area the whole time, because like the best places, like the best school right now in Philly is like Temple, and they are just like very average, honestly. But like a lot of great kids still come out, like, myself, Trent, Michael Ing, like Henry, like all these kids still have like come out of Philly. So it's great. And I will say that Philadelphia has, I'm biased and I haven't checked out most of the cities, but I would say like the best, like non-competitive.
Summer League?
Yeah, Summer League.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, that's one thing I still like dream about going back. It's just the best. Like I love it. The fields. It's actually sad because I think there's been a lot of talk recently about like they want to put like a football stadium at Edgeley, which is where people play in Philly. And it's just like this oasis of fucking Ultimate. It's like this place in the city surrounded by trees. You can fit 6 fields on the main part. There's a clubhouse. I mean, I literally grew up there. Like it's fucking, it'd be so sad if they put anything there. I'd be bummed. So Philly definitely in non-competitive, like maybe the best. And then Colorado, a great place for attracts good Ultimate players.
Quinn, having grown up. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to amend my answer for a second and say that like the whole homegrown thing, I think that's a bullshit phrase that North Carolina people say to pump their own chest about like the right system, and nothing made me happier than seeing them get shit on this past year and fuck the whole state of North Carolina. So you can put that clip in.
And North Carolina is really like the Empire, I feel like right now in like a Star Wars to Ultimate analogy. Like North Carolina is the Empire. They're making their clone army. You know what I mean? whatever that planet is in with the rainy planet. Anyway, they got I forget, but the clone army is working there.
Folks.
Yeah, the long neck folks. Long neck, like the Henry Fisher folks. And and like they're the Empire. And I really feel like Colorado, like for me, especially like when I was in school, like we are the rebellion. Like we're from all over the galaxy. You know what I mean? And we come together from all places of the outer rim to take on the Empire and their clone army. It's crazy.
Wow.
I like it.
It's a good analogy.
And in terms of college, they beat the shit out of us every year. So, whatever.
That was like episode 3, kind of like, they're just like slaughtering the kids and like the youth. And like Liam is Anakin. And they're like, no, Liam.
is
not
Liam
the younglings.
They are literally called Dark Side.
Yeah.
I know.
Makes
it sets up so it does make you think. It also makes like, did Liam just slay like young children?
The younglings. Quinn, okay. Having grown up in Colorado, we do have a pretty strong college program here, but I don't know. You played youth here. We don't traditionally do too well at YCC. Like, how do we compare that to Seattle, etc.?
Yeah. So I started playing in middle school-ish, but it was all pickup and men's league and stuff like that. And then my first organized frisbee was YCC, because none of the high schools in Fort Collins where I grew up actually had teams. There was teams in Denver, but I wasn't allowed to play for them because I went to a different school and I couldn't choice in for some reason. I don't know. But so the only youth I really played was YCC. And I think one year we got 7th, but we were still like so far off of the top 5 teams. Like we would get beat by 10 by those teams. And I think it's interesting too, because I think I would have been better at a young age. Like I wasn't a great youth player. Even in my early college days, I wasn't a super great player. I think it's just because I didn't really think frisbee was that big, and I didn't think there was that many good players out there, so I could just kind of coast because of the environment I grew up in. And then when I got to college and started playing club, it was like, you actually have to give everything to this if you want to be a top level player. Because I was still just playing hockey, and like frisbee was my secondary sport until college. And I think it's tough to kind of conceptualize like how much frisbee there is out there and how many good players there are that want to be the best and work really hard at it. So if you are a young player in Colorado that doesn't play that much, get to it. It's tough out there.
But then in that same line of thought, it's like not that hard to become like a.
It's not.
You put in the
if
work.
If we're comparing it to like the NBA or some shit like that, obviously not.
It's relative. Like you have to put in work, but like it's very realistic that like if you start like caring at a young age that you can get good at the sport. Like one thing that on this like youth thing that like one thing that bums me out about Colorado is like it makes me sad that there's like 2 YCC teams now. Like, I think that's yeah, there's a Colorado Springs team, and then there's like whatever, like Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins. And I don't know like all the specifics. I know that like most of it was because of like different political beliefs and like just like honestly like not being able to get along. And I know like COVID put a lot of tension on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that that's too bad, especially like just like not the kids can't like one you like they could be pretty good, I think, if they had just like one team. And I don't know how you necessarily approach that situation, because I understand, like, I guess if you believe
Yeah.
really deeply in like certain things and other
without
people,
going too much into the youth stuff in Colorado, I wish we could be. I wish we could have a heavier hand in how things were run and implemented. Hey, room, is that Michael?
Yep.
I know your roommate's name. I've never seen his face
Yeah.
before.
That's funny.
Cool. Well, Keegan, any questions for us before we let you go?
Yeah, I guess just one thing quick, just like what made you guys start the podcast? Just like talking shop and wanted to do it with other people?
Pretty much, yeah.
the origin story.
Yeah, we have told this story before, but it's okay.
No, if it's a waste, yeah, it's a waste of.
No,
waste
it's
of time.
not,
We
because
don't need
most
to-
people.
No,
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone was like, "Oh, I've talked about this before," but I was like, "I've never listened to your podcast before, so I don't know what you're talking about." So it's fine if
Yeah.
you go in depth, because most of the
Yeah.
people.
It's actually a
probably,
really good point.
I actually enjoy answering this question too, and mostly just for fun. Like, we just like to talk about frisbee. Originally, we weren't planning to have guests, but we quickly realized, like, well, if we want anybody to give a shit, like, maybe we should have. Also, like, it's nice being able to talk to interesting people. It's been nice, like Keegan, we've been friends for over a decade, or maybe about a decade. It's a good excuse. It's a good excuse to talk to interesting people.
Yeah,
and
it's
just
easier
try
from a
something new.
content perspective as well. Just like it's way easier when you bring a new person on. Yeah, and a lot of it was Mikey and I talked in my garage for like 3 hours once, and we had like. Actually, like, I'll be honest, the origin story was like, I wanted to have a podcast for the summit, but I wanted it to be a podcast where we smoked weed. Because like the summit is sponsored by a lot of, this was like the first idea of like having a podcast. Like, because the summit is sponsored by a lot of weed brands. So like, I wanted to have a podcast where we got super high on the podcast and just like talked about shit. And like another one was like, you know how there's hot ones, like where you try spicy wings.
Yeah.
So like I want to do that, but it'd be like high ones where like you just would take like increasingly higher potency hits of marijuana and just get like you just get higher and higher and like talk about stuff, which I still think I will do. Like I got to do it like at one time because it's just funny.
These actually are pretty funny, man.
Yeah. So that was it. And then it like became like a more like, okay, we could actually do like a normal podcast instead of like smoking an unreasonable amount of weed for it. And then it was like Mikey has a lot of the podcast stuff. So that's how Mikey got included. And we were like, Mikey would be great on a podcast. Then Mikey and I talked in my garage for like 3 hours. And we were like, well, that should have been a podcast episode because it was like pretty interesting. And then we had Quinn on for the first episode. And Quinn was like, I enjoy this. I want to do it also. And we were like, fuck it.
We got a podcast.
And that's where we're at today.
And it's nice now too, because I don't have to hang around after practice to get my frisbee talk out. Like sometimes I'll hang around after practice for like an hour with people just talking about bullshit, and now we can just do it on the podcast instead.
Hell yeah. Man, I love it. I'm jealous because I like last year had an idea for like basically something similar. Like there's like a few friends where I just like, I don't know, Mikey, you might know Jonathan Neely or like seen or heard of some of his stuff. But yeah, like we would just talk shop, man. And like we one time just chatted for like an hour and a half, just debating like which team would win, like 2014 Bravo versus 2018 Pony. I just love that shit. And it just was so fun. And then I had this idea of like starting my own, but I was like, I don't want to like commit to it. But the one idea that I did have that I think is like kind of funny, maybe you guys can adopt it for me, was like, I called it like first and worst. And I was going to do like people's first memory of me and like their worst memory of me. And I thought that would have led to some like pretty interesting situations.
Oh my gosh,
that's a really good one.
We can call it Keegan's Corner.
Oh yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm bringing a lot of memories are coming back, Keegs.
Yeah.
Like when the first time we hung out, I think was at that spa, like a hot springs spa, and we didn't even know each other that well. It was
yeah.
Whoa. Well, we won't fill in the details because I like that it sounds weird. The other memory though from back then is all the raw eggs you would eat, and then we would
Oh,
eat
yeah.
together. And
Oh yeah.
from my recollection, you didn't handle the eggs too well.
No, they did not sit well or agree with me.
Follow your dreams, Sean. Make your podcast.
Make the
we'll
podcast. Yeah,
bring you on. We can have a regular segment, the
Yeah.
Keegan's Corner.
Keegan's
But
Corner. I like it.
Actually, I need to ask one more question because you mentioned
Yeah.
14 and 18, Bravo and Pony, the D line. So like now you have a fucking athletic D line. Today you do,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that 18 D line was athletic, but was like a lot of switchy poachy. Your 2014 Bravo team though, also freakishly athletic with Jack, Stanley,
Hilka,
Hilka,
Henry.
Nick Lance would
Lance.
play over there.
Yeah.
So different styles of D lines. Would you be able to pick one over the other?
I mean, I guess I've said this in the past that I think the 2018 Pony O line was better than the 2014 Bravo O line, and I would probably say that overall the 2014 Bravo D line was better than 2018 Pony D.
Matty
That would be
Farrell,
like
too.
my
Ryan Farrell.
Yeah. Like don't forget Ryan played a bunch of D.
Yeah.
Like the biggest thing too with that D line, man, the Bravo one was like they just never like there were so many guys that could play like universe point O line for any team in the world, and they were just happened to be on the D line. Like you just knew if we got the turn, like we were going to get a break.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that
It's
line was
amazing.
insane.
Yeah.
Sorry, Quinn. I'm going to cut you off because I had one more question about
I was going to say something, but go.
The 2018 D line also had Jeff Wodach, right? Or is it
John Wodach.
John Wodach? They are brothers, is that right?
Yeah.
He also had like the Lions main too back then. Like, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Why did he stop playing? And I felt like he was such a difference maker for you that year.
Yeah. I think, life just kind of happened. He's a teacher. He was commuting down from Connecticut. And so it just was like a trek for him. And I think he's also got like a ton of interest in hobbies outside of Frisbee. He's very big into like outdoorsy stuff. And I think, he got his ring and was just happy to do other things. God bless him. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinn, sorry to interrupt.
I was just gonna make a comment about your guys' D line last year. I was glad that, not to rub it in your face, but I was glad that you guys lost the truck because I did not want to deal with your guys' D line again. It was too good. I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I think our 2020, like our D line last year, especially our Worlds version of the D line, was even better than like the 2014 Bravo.
With why am I blanking on his
name?
name?
Jack Hatchett played with us.
Hatchett, yeah.
Jack Hatchett and Mike Drost was on that team too.
Jeez.
So like, and Drost was like a D2 guy. Like he was just like a plug and play on D2, and he's like amazing.
Yeah.
You guys had Babbitt a bit at Worlds too.
He would cross over.
Yeah.
He got that catch block on Dylan, like to take half, I think.
Oh God, made Lanier look like the littlest boy that has ever
been. I will say I officially won it on record. I think had we had Jeff and or Grant healthy in semis, I think we end up winning. I think it'd be a fun game against you.
It's tough.
I think I agree.
That's a tough team to beat for sure. Yeah.
I hope we get to play soon. I want to play New York.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
I
yeah,
really
you got to play so we can play each other.
New York and North Carolina, man. I'm missing both of the.
Shit.
I'm just playing these DC scrubs a whole bunch. Stupid and boring. I want the real challenges.
Any Keegan bombs about Oscar or Jack yet? Do we know what's happening with them?
Jack is an enigma as a person, so hard to get any firm answers there. Truthfully, I don't think he knows what he's going to do. It's not that he's like leading anybody along. I think he just is like kind of just goes with the flow. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about Osgard though. I have no idea. I have no idea.
That sounds like you have an idea.
I'll say
Osgard a pony. You heard it here first.
Kinsbomb of episode 8. Osgard a pony.
Let's go.
Confirmed.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Jimmy has
Episode
indicated
9.
that Oscar is playing, but he didn't seem to give a firm answer either.
Interesting.
All right,
I like
Sean.
how everyone's so secretive about stuff in Ultimate when like does it really fucking
Doesn't
matter?
matter.
I think it's so dumb if I'm being honest.
Oh,
Like,
come on.
all this like the North Carolina like plays shit and like that shit. It's like it doesn't matter. You had a stacked team, you played well, you won. It's like you're not like the fucking I think that's a holier than thou mentality if there is one. Like that
That they
you
did it right.
brainchilded these like amazing
Yeah.
you had a great
no,
team.
you had 20 of
Do
the
you-
top 25 guys on the field.
Yeah,
at that
don't
time,
act
yeah.
like you need to make this like massive secret about like how you play fucking dump defense. Like it's not that deep, and you just it's stupid. But, all right,
All right, Sean.
Yeah. Let you guys get to pickleball and coaching.
Yeah,
Let's go.
thanks for coming on. Any closing thoughts from Quinn or Atkins before we say goodbye as I play the outro?
no, I hope to meet Sean in battle one day on the field.
Yeah, Sean, thanks for coming. A lot of fun getting to know you a little bit better, and looking forward to playing against you this year. Just say that. We'll just say that.
Cool. Thanks a lot, fellas. Truly had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.